Exploring the human journey.
You are never alone and always being guided and living a guided life. That's how my flagship book, Guided, came into being after 60 years of living it. Only then did I tell my story, and most importantly, I shared how it works. Your guides are always with you. You come into this life with your guides. They follow you here. When you finally acclimate to this world, this is what severs that connection for many people. And that's how your guides watch you get lost as you move through your life, only to get to be 30, 40, 50, 60 years old and ask yourself, why am I here? And what's my purpose? What am I missing? And that's your guidance coming back. That's that early memory from where you came from, when you were connected in your early life, when you were new. That's coming back to you now. I, in my work, help you make this connection. I also teach you how to hear them, as opposed to what's coming from you. It's coming through you, from your guides. I also have a talking board that I created because my guides asked me to, that did not cause fear and caution, so they could reach the ones who could be reached in the challenging times to come. This was my work. They made it clear that I would help the ones who could be reached. Those were their exact words. My journey now is to keep them from missing it. Maybe that's why I was 60 years old before I spilled the beans and wrote Guided.
Hi and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you joined us. Today our special guest is Linda Deir, and she is going to talk about how we can get in contact with our guides. Linda, thanks for being here today.
You're welcome. I love this. This is going to be fun.
Awesome. Your book, Guided, is amazing. Now, Linda and Ray, her husband, gave us a copy of the digital version, fortunately, and we were able to each kind of pull up our laptops and go through this. This is a fantastic read. It really gives presence to Linda's life. It gives presence to the fact that her guides were always there helping her along the way. And what I love is the very beginning of this, as one of your earliest memories, you've got the merry-go-round. Talk about the importance of the merry-go-round and how that works throughout your life.
Yeah, it surprised me. I step into this life, and the first thing they show me is the merry-go-round dream. And it was this dream that I would have for the first 35 years of my life.
Yeah.
That would never change and never stopped. Do you think there was a message in that?
Yeah.
All right.
That is intense.
I've never heard anybody say that.
It's a reoccurring dream all the time.
It never
Same
stopped.
dream.
All the
I
time.
tried to stop it. I tried in the beginning. I loved having the dream because I was on this merry-go-round and it started speeding it up, and everyone I knew in the whole wide world was on this merry-go-round with me. That describes these karmic ties.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
And my relationship to the world. All right. Hi, Leo, honey.
Leo, get down. You're not part of the show.
You are now. Okay. And Leo likes me.
He does. He loves Linda.
And so it was this merry-go-round dream that my guides used to show me, like a metaphor. This is why you're here.
Yeah.
And this is what you're going to be doing. Okay, so the merry-go-round dream, what happens is it introduces me to people who are living fear-based lives. And as a result of that, they are unable to hold on. And my guides told me, they said, you will be the one who helps them if they can be reached. You'll help the ones who can be reached. And, that's just the way it was going to be. This dream, the first chapter of Guided, sets the stage for my entire life. It's why everything after chapter 1 happened.
It all makes sense, yeah. I remember you talking about how you're holding on and you go, wee, this is amazing. I'm spinning, I'm having so much fun.
It was until the people on the merry-go-round with me,
Yeah.
as it speeded up, of course, that's the world we're in now. All right. As it speeded up, they became fearful and let go and died.
Yeah.
All right.
And then there's that carnage and the splat and
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Vivid.
And so in the beginning, I loved having the dream. This is why I'm here. How exciting is this? This is great.
Yeah.
All right. But then when all that started happening, those casualties, it made me pull back and go, oh, this is not just a fun ride. There's a lot of work going to be involved in this. And I was picked out. This is my work. This is my mission.
Yeah.
Is this. And everything that would happen after this chapter would be how the guides looked out for me as they navigated me through this. And I chose to act on whatever they were showing me or not. And most of the time I did. And as a result of that, I actually stepped into a higher way of learning because of their influence. Not because they taught me anything. They never teach you anything, David. The guides never do. They let you realize what it is that you're choosing to learn.
Yeah.
They put, it's called guided. They put it on your path. They show it to you, the merry-go-round dream. And when they do that, you look at it and you go, oh, and you figure it out. We are amazing. Okay, we don't need people telling us how to think, what to do, who to love. And all this, we know that. We come in equipped with that. Okay, and they were showing me this. That's why chapter 1 set the stage for the entire book.
Yep.
And it also, it's a world that we find ourselves in now. This couldn't be more timely. Why would I wait 62 years to publish this book that I wrote? Why would I wait that long? It was not time yet. Even though they told me 20 years before I published in 2014, I was going to write a book about my relationship with them and that they appeared so the world could believe.
Yeah.
And this was just a setup. I feel like I always tell people it's a big setup. It's like there's a chessboard sitting on the table and we're getting moved around. Now we have to choose to go that way. Guidance comes through. It delivers the information, and you ask yourself, okay, I'll go there. I'll do that. That feels right to me. And sometimes you'll go, well, that's not convenient for me right now, so I think I'll just let things be status quo, and I won't make a move on that, and I'm just going to roll with this the way it is. Because I think I know better. I don't want to go through that, all right? Well, unfortunately, when we make those kinds of decisions, they're filled with what's called lessons, where when we step into the guidance and we know who we are, we can only step into that guidance when we know who we are and we can trust what that is. That's when you have that connection to your guides. Only then can you do that.
Yep.
And too many people are stopped out right there. They're afraid. I can't do that. They go right into fear. Chapter 1, part 1 of Guided is all about that fear.
Yeah. No, I love it. And you come into this world, you have a family that was very challenging to be involved with. You detail it chapter after chapter. There's a resolution at the end with how it was never wrapped up in a nice little bow, but like, well, here you go. This is how it works. And you were able to move through that with help of your guides.
Only because of the help I got. Because in this world, there was no one in this world that I could talk to about any of this.
Yeah.
So besides having my guides, I did my journaling. I wrote down what was going on, what I felt it was. And I never shared that with anybody. And throughout my childhood, I kept this journaling going. So I kept myself sane with this explosive amount of guidance coming through about what was really happening in this world. I called my childhood my boot camp.
Yeah.
It was my boot camp because I came into this life with a huge amount of karmic lessons piled up right at the front door.
Yeah, they were.
And that's, go ahead.
Oh, How early did you start journaling to start discovering this?
I was 6, 7 years old.
Wow.
I was desperate to know. See, what's interesting about my life, and I think this is really probably one of the most interesting things, is that I never questioned that my sanity. And anybody that had gone through all the things I had gone through, my guide showed me the experiences I had, everything I was experiencing, and I could talk to nobody about it.
Yeah.
Okay. While the world rejected me, as I had no support in this world, none. All right. And I learned it was like, I call it the boot camp because it was where I learned to know myself and trust myself and have this connection to my guides. What do you have?
Well, Leo just found some thread.
Leo is determined to be a part of this show today.
He's a good little boy.
He just needs to be acknowledged.
He's a good boy. Yes, he is, Leo. And so, there was absolutely no question I was supposed to walk this way. Mm-hmm. That's what I did. I walked that way. And what kept me in one piece was the journaling.
Yeah.
Because I had this constant communication going on with my guides. The world I was living in didn't jibe with this reality I was in. And the only way I could really understand it is by seeing it on paper. Otherwise, it sat out in the ethers. It was something that was still floating around, and I couldn't see it here. And I couldn't go back to it a month later or 3 months later and look at it and go, oh my God, that happened. Okay, that happened. And that's exactly what I felt at the time. Now, 3 months later, time being my friend. Time was my friend. Patience, right? Patience. Yep. That's when time's your friend. I could see what they were showing me. Yeah. And it sure did come out in the writings, and it came out in this life, and I could see how it all played together. Yeah. I was living in two worlds. Yeah. I was mastering that as a kid.
Yep. And the one person you can always trust is your mom. Huh, Linda?
Yes.
That's what one would think.
I could count on her.
Oh, my goodness. That's like the part of the story that was the biggest conflict in your life.
Yeah.
Is you would try one thing and your mother would do the opposite to have you be successful. It was such a tragic story.
Yeah. What happened is my mom, long story short, my mom, there was my path and I was moving that way. And I never talked to her about any of this stuff.
No,
but she'd throw nails on my path. So there's your path, Linda, okay? And there's nails all over your path. And you've got no shoes on and you've got to walk that way. No. All right. Okay, this will be interesting. I had to learn to bypass the part. I couldn't, if I had let her have me, like she threatened to do, she said that she was going to break my spirit and that there was nothing I could do about it. Mm-hmm. It put me into alignment with myself in such a solid, most beautiful way. I just sat there and thought, no, that won't be happening. That won't happen. In myself, I just knew that would not be going down.
You were tenacious.
Okay, that wasn't going to happen. Okay. So when these kind of things happen, David, all it did is I accepted my job, my role, and where I was supposed to go, and I accepted it. And I walked into it. I had my journal writing. I had my guides whenever I needed them. I connected with them through breathing, through dreams, through going out of body, through that twilight between here and there, through just being alone. Being alone, I mastered that in the sandbox. I was 2 years old. I mean, I mastered it. Mm-hmm. And I had this ongoing communication with my guides that was just incredible. Yeah. All right. So I was not without resources. But what that childhood taught me, when I came out of it, only once I came out of it could I really connect with this and breathe for the first time in my life. Yeah. When I came out of it, I was so prepared for this life.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like you were given an opportunity to build that trust muscle from the get-go.
Oh, I knew who I was. Mm-hmm. I was so solid in it. Yeah. I didn't need to talk about it. I just went right into this adult life, and I was on fire. Mm-hmm. Nothing could stop me. Yep. It was amazing. Even I sat back and I went, this is crazy. I have no formal education for any of it. And I felt right. It's like falling into a bed of roses.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Now, those family members that I came from, now the story was, well, you take care of family because family comes first. Well, I was at a 6-digit income when I was 21 years old.
Wow.
All right. And they threw me to the curb long ago. They had no value for me. And all of a sudden, I had all this value, okay?
Yeah.
And they had all this entitlement. At least that's what my mom tried to do. You know the movie $1 Million Baby?
Sure, yeah.
Remember that movie? Clint
There you
Eastwood. Okay, he produced this movie. And it was about him being the trainer for the boxer. The girl was the boxer.
Yep.
And he didn't want to train a girl. He didn't want her to get hurt and everything like that. Okay, she goes, hey, I need to do this. I'm good, right? I'm really good. Okay, I need to do this. I need you on my side. I need you to train me. Okay, so he did, and she became a superstar boxer, right? And she had no other hope in her life. She had no education. She had nothing else going. I line up with this movie. And then she got hit illegally by that other boxer, and it actually eventually killed her. And her family comes to her in the hospital. And she buys them a house, and she sends them to Disneyland, and they've got access to all her money now because she's not really sound. And they're just spending all her money.
Yep.
And this would be my family.
Yeah.
They are
Yeah.
disgusting.
Yep.
They're just disgusting.
Now, it's interesting because from what I have learned and understood is we do some pre-birth planning. So we choose our family.
Right.
And they agree and they choose us back.
That's right.
So there's some karmic path that you had to overcome.
You
or
are
to
so right.
Yeah.
learn.
And
What do you think that is?
Oh, David. Oh, that's a great question. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Okay, we come into this life. Here's the whole trap. Why do we keep doing this?
What's this whole
The
cosmic thing about?
merry-go-round.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, the merry-go-round. It set the stage for guided and for our lives. All right. So that's the whole point. When do we get through with this? Well, we get through with it when we solve the karmic lessons. All right. And I never attacked my family. I just let them do what they're going to do what they're going to do. You can't, it doesn't matter if your karmic ties with them are solved or not. They're still, what they do has nothing to do with you. All right. So I got through that family. I learned what I learned, almost didn't make it. Got out with my life at 16 years old and found my way. It was amazing. It was like I could breathe. Literally, when I got out of that family, it's the first week I got out, I could feel my body physically changing, literally physically changing.
Wow.
It was the weirdest thing. It's like the Hulk. I could describe it like the Hulk. Could you imagine what it felt
Wow.
like to turn into the Hulk
Just be that
physically?
powerful being.
Okay, I physically felt all that pressure and repression come off me. It was like I could hardly breathe. I couldn't stop breathing. All right. First time I dared to breathe was that day, that
Yeah.
week I got out.
So you were able to kind of relax a little bit for the first time?
Yes,
Yeah.
and then to answer your question, my karmic ties to them was solved. When I got out with my life at 16 years old, it was done. That's why I know it. I know it because what I physically I morphed out of. I came out of a cocoon and I could finally fly. I was free and I knew that my karmic ties to them was done.
Nice.
Wow.
I knew it. I did it so well when I was a kid. I tried to help them. I did all the things you could read guided. I did all these things. Most of all, I sat back and I watched what was going on. And I didn't take it personally. And I learned to trust what I saw. This is what it is, Linda. Don't try to make it into something it's not. You know how people will say, but it's family. No. My family is the family that I came from, not the family I was assigned to in this particular karmic life.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, I solved that. I know I did. I'm clean with that. And then I had my daughter. There's a little more karma to do. Okay. And a couple husbands in there. Okay. So, I served my karmic time and it's been so good.
Yeah.
Okay. But there comes a time, David, when you've worked through it, you got it worked out in yourself. You cannot help if they want to keep holding on to it.
Yep.
That's their karma.
Yeah.
That's not your own. And then I moved through it, and I honestly thought at 16, and I went through this whole thing. Nobody ever knew. This is the first time I told my story,
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
No one ever knew any of this.
You put names in here and you put places. Are these accurate names and places?
Some places are all accurate.
Okay.
Some of the names I changed to protect
Sure.
the guilty.
No.
Okay.
What I love
That's
about
what Ray says. He always says that.
so good. What I love about Guided, you guys need to check this out. Linda's got tips in here. So as she's going through a chapter, she's talking about a story. She's like, oh yeah, by the way, these are some ways that the guides will talk. These are some keys. These are some tips. These are some things that you're going to learn. So along the way, not only is this a journal of your story in which we can gain insight from hearing your experience, you've also got practical guidance. You've also got tips and wisdom from guides in general.
Right. Here's how that
It's like a
happened.
manual
It
of
is.
how to understand how your guides lead you.
It's fascinating. I'll
Yeah.
share something with you since you brought that up. When I was done writing Guided, and I told Ray, I said, I'm done. I finished the book.
That's good.
And about a week later, I didn't have a title for it though. And he goes, well, you know how it works out, Linda. They'll let you know. The guides. And I said, yeah, I know. So we let the book sit for a couple weeks. And they started waking me up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I sat in front of the computer, and they told me to start reading from the beginning, starting with chapter 1. And they will stop me when they need me to stop. And then I didn't even know what they had in mind. So I started reading from the beginning. And there was one tip, and there it was. And there's another, there's an insight, or there's a learning. And then I'm on chapter 2, and there's a lesson. And if they just infiltrated the book with 137 tips, learnings, lessons, and awarenesses.
Yeah.
They just dripped it all the way through
Yes.
the book. I was like, okay, Ray, it looks like I'm not done. And they kept waking me up at 1 o'clock. So,
Oh boy.
and then when I was finished with that, I don't know, that took a couple of 10 days to 2 weeks to finish their breath in the book, their final breath in the book. And then came the title. So that was their signal, letting me know. See how they communicate to you? That was their signal letting me know the book is now finished because here's the title. It was
there it
3
is.
o'clock in the morning. I wake Ray up. I go, Ray, they just gave me the title to the book. He goes, what is it? And I said, Guided. He goes, duh.
That's so good.
I went, oh my God. The beauty of it is when you don't force something, rush something, push something, it's not your agenda, your timeline, whatever, and you just let these things work out. I always tell people, my life is better than had I created it myself. Because I'm co-creating a life. I'm here with the guides. I'm in this world, this physical world, and I'm still connected to the world I came from before I got here. And that's the guides, okay? And if you just take that moment to take that breath, to let yourself, to give yourself back to yourself, to bring yourself back into the picture, to release the stress in your upper body, and just let it come through. Just let it work. That's all it takes.
Beautiful. The presence that you give to the fact that we have guides around us and that we're never alone, sometimes that is not understood or acknowledged by many people. I've lived in a religious paradigm where I didn't understand that.
I know.
You know, I lived in a world where that was something that was spooky or of the devil, or somebody would be trying to trick you if they told you those things. So there are people that have limiting belief systems. There are people that have a mindset of some fear-based construct. For people that are new to spirituality and who are like, what, guides? What? Tell me more. Give some presence to how that kind of, you plan a life, you come here and experience it, and they're here to help you. Give some presence to that.
Okay. It all has to do with knowing who you are first.
Beautiful.
It's all centered in that. Chapter 1, Guided. The first thing they showed me is who I was. They reminded me of who I was. That's how I figured this all out, David, when I remembered who I was.
Yep.
When my mom almost killed me at 20 months old, chapter 2.
Yeah.
And I found myself back in this world. I stayed back in this world because I didn't think I'd be, after what she did to me, I didn't think I'd be here still. I didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
And
Reconsidering why you did this whole
what
thing.
was I thinking?
What was I thinking?
This was like a whole pile of karmic stuff right at my front doorstep when I first got here. All right? All right, but at that moment I was so fearful and in shock about the situation. The only thing I knew how to do in that desperate moment, that last shot, was to ask someone to help me. And when I did that, in the instant that I did that, with the hope that I had, the last bit of hope that I had, I released that tension because I actually expected someone to answer me. And they did. And that's when they showed up all around me. And what's interesting about this is, you know, I've never heard anyone talk about this stuff like I've experienced it. When I looked up at them, I'm on all fours on the floor as a 20-month-old baby in my diapers and my little snap-on shirt. Yeah. In a puddle of water that I think my mom, I can only assume she probably doused me with to get me to snap out of it, to maybe revive me. When I woke up on the floor and there was no one around and I asked for that help, they showed up all around me. And when they did, I looked up at them and I just saw them look down at me so relaxed and so calm. I was like, I watched them, I looked at them, and I started to remember myself. I started to remember who I was before I came here. And one thing after another just started pouring in. They were communicating with me telepathically. It wasn't so long ago that I was with them. And that's how we always communicated. So I was only 20 months old, didn't have the reasoning set in from this world yet. So accessing me and reaching me in that way, especially in that terrifying moment where I released it in hopes of getting some help, which was beyond abundant when I did the asking. It changed everything. Here's the big takeaway I took. As a 20-month-old baby, here's the takeaway, was this world is not all there is. When I was told this and I recognized it and I remembered it before I got here, I knew this world wasn't all there was. This was just another life, another karmic ride. Okay, another merry-go-round, right? And when I remembered that from them, making me remember myself, okay, through their presence. No words, just through their presence, through the telepathy, through the remembering, the knowingness, the connection to them. All right. I wasn't afraid anymore. She could take me out. She could shoot me in the head, my mom.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah, she was not a kind woman in this book.
It was okay, but I had to be okay with that because I wasn't going to solve this karmic puzzle if I lived in fear, in the fear that she really intended for us all to feel. Yeah. All right. And who made her like that, David? My mom, I never hated my mom. I always felt sorry for my mom. Yeah. I mean, think about it. It was the 50s. In those days, if you were a female in the 50s and you were, like in my mom's situation, strapped with 3 kids, she did not want 3 kids, okay. She didn't have the free choice or any of that.
No, not at all.
Okay, and I talk to you because you're a woman, you know. And the only kind of help my mom would have gotten in those days is they would have locked her up. They would have given her a lobotomy. They would have put her on those mother little helpers and kept her on them.
Yeah.
She would have been some distant memory of a self of her that was even she didn't and couldn't have remembered. So she did not want to be put in that situation. Can you blame her?
No.
Okay, so I was my guides showed me what they helped me see by learning who I was Now you will see things for what they really are. You will see them for what they are, and you will not take it personally, because they're doing the best they can. It may not be too impressive, but that's all they can do.
Yeah.
Okay, you put yourself in that situation, and I really do have compassion for that. I honestly do. I got through it with the help of my guides, only because of them.
Well, and you detach away from it. When you can detach away from
Right.
something like that,
Right.
and you realize there's something they're working out on their journey here,
Yes.
it gives you a whole different compassion level.
There's a saying, yes, it's so, and that's why I looked at you. There's a saying that we are really all just walking each other back home. So try to be nice.
That's good.
That's
Try
beautiful.
to be nice, and not everybody remembers that. Not everybody knows, connects with that. It's true. We knew it before we got here. We know it when we leave.
Yeah.
Okay, when we're released from this world. So in the meantime, people come into this world, they get so scared. They get frightened right out of their minds. Okay, I remember 20 months old. I was there. I was in it. All right. Until my guides, when I asked, the magic in asking is so important. That's chapter 2 of
Yes,
Guided.
you have to ask for it.
Fear is chapter 1,
Yeah.
and asking is chapter 2.
Yeah. And you are going to have a good life if
Right.
you could get out of your childhood.
Right. My guides told me when I was, before starting school, they told me this one thing, and they continued to repeat it throughout my childhood until it played out. And what they told me, and I think I was probably around 3 when I first remembered them telling me this, they said, life for you will get better as you get older if you can make it through childhood. So as I heard this, and they repeatedly told me this throughout my childhood, I felt pretty good about that, because life will get better for me. Oh, great. I kind of didn't look at the part where it was about the childhood part, you know, and until I actually got a little older, maybe I was probably 6, 7, right in there, I started getting this feeling in here, like, I'm not feeling good about this. I feel it. It was the most sickening feeling I can describe. And that's when I realized they're words of warning. If you can make it through childhood. I felt this creeping up in my life. I couldn't see where it was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know who was going to implement it or how it was going to shake out at all. But it happened. I was 11 years old, and I attempted suicide. Yeah. I hit my point, hitting that puberty point, rocking my world. Now I'm changing. I'm morphing into someone else, okay? And I add that to what I've already been through and what I've learned and how I managed to get through it and this connection I have to my guides. But in my world, that was normal. That wasn't abnormal. That wasn't, even though no one else had it, it was just part of my world, all right, my life. And I hit that point where my guides had their hands full. They had their hands full, and they were like, okay, this is why, and once I got through it, this was why they gave me that warning from the beginning of my life. Because they knew I piled all my karmic stuff up on the front porch. Soon as I got here, boom, it all hit me. Karmic, massive karmic lessons, learnings, awarenesses, and tips, just like Guided.
The book has,
Okay, and that it was all there, and I was just going through it one after. I could have never done it without my guides first and my journaling next. Journaling, I just have to bring this out.
I love the resources. Let's talk about it. That's great.
My guided journey. This is such a beautiful.
It's beautiful.
I love this because this is my journey, and I've been there. I've done that. And that's how I did it. And people, this is the honeypot. This is where everybody shows up for the project. They grab that first. But after the few years it was published, all I kept hearing from the fans and the coaching clients and the people that read the book, or listened to the book, or he's got his chin on my foot.
Leo the pug on set.
He gets my insights, Linda's weekly guided insights, any of that. They always ask me, How can I make this connection to my guides? How can I have a communication bridge to them just like you do? I want to know how to do this. And that's where this came from. This is called My Guided Journey, and it's the companion journal to Guided. It was only after I was inundated with people from around the world. Okay, thousands of copies of Guided has sold, where they said, Linda, I want to learn how to do this. I need to learn how to do this. I know, I believe it. After reading your story, I know it. It triggered so many things in me. I know it's there. I know I can do this. Over the course of 1 year, this was a work in progress. I wrote the chapters out with the help of my guides, just like I wrote Guided. I wrote it out. And I said, well, I'm done, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and publish this. Did you feel that was not an accident? They weren't ready for me to do that. The guides, it felt wrong. It was a stop sign hit me. And I went, after this work, I know from the fan base, I know from writing it, I know that this needs to be done. And then I said, okay, so I shelved the book. And I started doing, along with Ray and we started doing Facebook Live events every week that walked them through this journey. And we have 18 videos now that walk you through part 2, chapter 1 through 18, that take you on your journey back to making the connection to your guides.
So that's
what this
part,
does.
Okay, part 2 and then part 3.
So this is part 1.
Part 1, part 2, part 3.
Right.
Okay.
And it's called, the guides call it the Guided Journal Writing System. Now, without the journal, it's another reason I made it through my childhood, not just survived it, but became tuned in to a higher way of learning and understanding what's going on in this world with the help of my guides as I journaled. Okay, so there's part 3 of this is the journal writing. And then the next book, part 3, is the journal writing only. All right. By the time you move through this was a work in progress. I had the feeling, don't publish it. So after the work in progress with the early adopters of Guided, came this book with the interaction with them. Once we got through all those videos and did all the MP3s that is included with this book, I went to publish it, and it went off beautifully, perfectly, seamlessly.
So now it was complete.
Guided.
Guided.
Guided. It's about being guided. Get out of its way. I had to shelve this thing for a year. Well, I wanted to publish it. What? Right? Okay. So this is all about just getting comfortable with getting out of your way and following your guidance. So this is my guided journey, and this is your guided journey. You take the journey, and it starts out on chapter 1. This is what's chapter 1 in that book, David?
The merry-go-round.
It's about fear, isn't it?
Fear, correct.
It's about fear.
Yeah.
Chapter 1, fear. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to read this one thing.
Perfect.
Chapter 1. The old forget how to keep the secrets. The middle-aged protect the secrets. The young feel the shame of the secrets. Hint, this pressure triggered your first fear. People try to go back and they try to remember their first fear, and they go, I'm having a hard time doing that, Linda. If you go back to the first shame you felt, that is where the fear is.
Wow. Yeah,
Fear. You would have never thought that.
I would not have known what my first fear is at all.
But when you put shame on it,
it's a totally different
story. That's a huge
Yeah.
hint. That puts you on your yellow brick road, and when you rewind your life, okay, fear. When the fear that blocks learning, fears that block learning are removed, only then can we reach you. That's your guides. Breathe. Release the pressure. That's what I did when I asked for help. Now, write down your first fear. We are here. Let us help you. And that's chapter 1.
Yeah.
That's the beginning. Now, many people don't start on chapter 1 because it's either too painful or it's too hard for them to remember from that point going forward. So what I've suggested in this Taking the Journey in part 2 is go to the part that you feel the biggest energy with.
Mm-hmm.
Like you came, okay, there, I just jumped around a little bit.
It seems like on this human experience, we have things that cause us a core wound, or there's an unloved or an unworthiness to us. There's something in there. There's that fear. There's that shame. There's something that we feel guilty about.
That's right.
What do you think that is?
Something you shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
That's not right.
Why do you think we have that energy about this human experience?
Because that's how everybody else feels.
Okay.
And it's an energy transference where without them saying any words at all, you can feel it. And you just kind of know, well, I'm not going to step into that, and I'm not going to talk about that, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, you just know, don't you?
good.
Even as a little child. The little child knows. The little child, what's interesting about the little child, and I love this because this is where we're going to get them. This is where people are going to wake up right here, is this little child came in, I mean all of our little childs came in with everything we needed to know. That is until the people who were here before us told us, no, that's not how it works. It works like this. And all it is, it's all passed down from generation after generation after generation after generation. And they it's a mindless way to operate in this world. It's a mindless way to raise your kids.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Yeah. When the child says, why do we do this, Dad? And the dad says, well, because my dad did it and Grandpa did it, and that's the way we've always done it.
Yeah, I know. And I never bought, that always rubbed me wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, that's not an answer.
Yeah.
That's just like blowing me off. And I knew that's what it was. So when you learn this stuff, you really get to know who you are.
Yeah.
And when you get to know who you are, you trust who that is. And the next thing that happens is you're instantly connected.
Boom.
There's no more.
Yeah.
See, what happens here, you guys, is when you're connected, the only way you can be connected to your guides, have a connection with them, is when you know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you're walking through your life like this. You don't know what to do. You have to go ask other people, what do I do? How do I think? What would you do? You see people do that all the time.
Yeah.
They're lost. They were programmed so young. And here's what really happened. It's not that they were programmed so young and we're just a bunch of robots, because we're not. We're humans with feelings. The feelings is what brings us back to ourselves. What happened early on is you got scared. Somebody did something or shocked you, and you, and before you knew it, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want him to hit me. I don't want anything to happen. And you keyed in to, what'll get him off my back? What do I do? And I mean, it scared you to your core. Okay, it was awful. Chapter 1, 20 months old. I really hoped couldn't believe I was still in this world. I thought what people would call this, I thought I was dead. I was hoping I was gone. Okay, please tell me I'm not here. All right. So one more step, while I'm on that subject, and I'm going to bounce off it for a minute, is people will say to me, aren't you afraid that you're going to meet demons? And all right, and all these nasty things. I said, so I've never, ever, ever had a bad thing happen to me with my guides, with my angels, and with others who crossed over, and other beings from beyond this world, this planet, this dimension. All right. I have never had a bad experience, but I will tell you, I've had a bad experience, and I've had lots of them. And you know where they came from? Right here on the planet.
Boom.
You don't have to go looking out there for bad people and bad spirits and They're all here. They're here right now. What, honey? What's wrong, baby? He needs a little bit of love.
He does.
Oh, you need that lovey stuff, don't you, baby? Oh. I love you back. I love this little guy.
He loves you too.
He's really
you can
cute.
Tell.
He's a good boy.
He can feel the energy.
He does. So That's really it,
Yeah,
right there.
that's
You know,
beautiful.
it's not that they're out there. They're not going to snatch you up out of your sleep and steal you away. There's none of that. You know, keep your doors locked. They're here. You know,
Yeah.
they're called people that
Yeah.
that are disconnected, and they're the most dangerous people, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder too if people who espouse that, you know, aren't you afraid of evil spirits and stuff like that? It's just kind of their way to keep you in that fear state.
It absolutely is.
So you don't wake up to who you really are.
Now, that would be people in authority that would attempt
Yeah.
to do that. The other part of that would be people who already bought into it, that believe in it, you know, because they haven't had a thought of their own. And they were theored into it so soon that it just has to be true. You know, how could that not be true? And it scares me to think that, you know, I could have guides that they could hurt me. Well, they've just been destroyed with programming.
Yeah.
That's what happened with us.
Yeah,
Really?
I grew up with the narrative that there was a devil, there was a hell, there were demons that would lead you astray. And the narrative that, you know, a third of the angels fell from heaven and now they're on planet Earth. And our whole goal is to get out of here and get to heaven. I mean, there's a whole big mindset there of fear consciousness, and everything's
control.
based on
it
on
is.
fear. And then if they're telling you this mindset, then you have to give your authority to whoever is telling you that, because they have the answers, or whatever religious text or whatever that narrative is. It's all about taking the control that you have as a person and giving it to someone else. And when you know who you are, you can take back your authority and take back your control.
You can't do it any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you know who you are, you take the control back, but here's the hook. But you also accept the consequences. Okay, Guided talks about the consequences. And there is no free ride in this world.
Yeah.
Okay, you learn who you are, and you face and you see things for what they are, and you stop taking them personally, because now you're observing what's going on. You're paying attention to why you came here.
Yeah.
You came here to solve these confusions and this karmic lesson, you know, or lessons. And you accept that. In accepting that, there's all kinds of consequences that go with that. And it's something that you learn on your own. You learn from yourself, because these are your answers. They're not a generic answer that works for everybody. And that's what makes this so solid when you finally connect with this. You will, once you get over that hump, there's a little bit of fear in there, David, for the person who wakes up and walks that way. They're guided, and they swallow hard. They go, oh, okay, I'm going to go there, because I can't do this anymore. I can't live like this anymore. I can't work for that person who treats me like that anymore. I can't do this to my children anymore. I can't raise them like this. I got to get back in tune with myself. I've got to know what's right, what's true. And the only way you can do it is to walk that way and accept some people are going to look at you, an example of consequences. What's wrong with you? They're going to judge you. Oh, I can't
All
be
the
friends
time.
with you. Or it could cost you your job because of the you know, the way everyone thinks there. Or if you go to church. I mean, some people, even after they have an awakening, they go to church because they understand themselves better. It's not, they no longer rely on somebody else telling them they're going to be okay. They just go there because they like the energy of the group.
Yeah, just the community.
Yeah, the community.
And that's a big problem, that when you have a spiritual awakening and you come out of whatever that mindset was, you're like, oh, well, what do I do for community? Who do I connect with?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we've enjoyed with part of exploring the human journey, is finding that there are other communities. There are people that you can be with of like mind.
Right. But while somebody's detaching from the illusion that they've been programmed with, while they're doing that, they keep this is vital.
Yes.
Keeping a journal is
So
vital.
that's the working way to move through that.
This is how you're going to track your progress.
Yeah.
Okay. This is how you're going to document your journey. and log what's going on in sequential order, in chronological order.
Yeah.
This is going to be something that when you write it down and date it, and then you write it down and you date it, and you write it down and you date it, and then you're done, and then you go, okay, what did I do a month ago? What was going on? And you start to see it, because in this journal, in the journaling part of this, I really paid a great deal of attention to this. By the way, when I write my books, I don't read other people's books.
Mm-hmm.
I don't read their books because I do not want influence on what I know. All right.
That's
So
good.
my journal writing, here's the journal writing part. My journal writing, your journey forward. When you take your journey, it's your journey back. You can't go forward until you know
Go
where
back.
you've been. All right. So my journey forward. Okay. And I ask these questions, and there's little check boxes. Where did you get this guidance? Did it come from a dream? There's a checkbox. Walking, taking a walk, there's a checkbox. Driving, in the shower, washing hands, from a song, from a person, daydreaming, using your talking board like what we have, or something other than that. That's the first question, all right? And then there's the date up in the corner. Critical to write the date down. There's only 6 of these. The second one is, how did you know this guidance was coming from us? Did you know it? Did you hear it? Did you see it? Was it a physical sensation? Describe it. The third question is, write it down. What was the guidance? The fourth one, did you write your guidance down, honey? Did you do that, baby? Yeah. And the fourth one is, write down, and this is really critical. So you write down what it was, and this is so important. Write down how this felt.
I didn't ever think about writing down how it felt.
In the way that it felt is so much valuable information the minute you identify how it felt. The fifth one, we're almost done. Write down what you realized.
Okay.
And the last one, this is the one when you've mastered doing this, you'll start writing this one out all the time. In the beginning, you may not write this one out in the beginning. What action did you take? How did you apply it to your life? Now, you can get all this guidance, know where it came from, know how it felt, and know what you realized. But if you don't take action on the guidance, I took action on the guidance.
Yeah.
If you don't take action on the guidance, it's useless.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Okay, so it'll take a little while to take action on the guidance, because after all, you're just getting to know who you are.
Yep.
Can you trust that? And then when you can trust that, this becomes a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like a practical process to help people get in touch with their guides. It's really brilliant.
And it's consistent. So you don't ever, if you stop journaling, the connection you have to your guides will suffer. So you have to keep writing, even if it's just your dreams you're writing down. But keep writing down what's coming through. In the shower, I have this recorder outside the shower. I get in the shower, I'm all wet, nice and warm. I'm washing my hair. And this guidance starts screaming through. I'm going, oh, okay, great.
It's a commonplace.
You know,
It really is.
I know. So I've got a little recorder that's not plugged into the power supply. Ray made sure. Linda, don't plug it into the power supply, okay? So we've got batteries. And I just into the recorder just a few key words. I get out of the, and I get at my desk, and then I play it back, and I go, the key words, they're the triggers.
Yeah.
And boom, I start writing it out. And a lot of times it has to do with the project, because, we've come through all this for so long, my whole life. And these guides are, you could not ask for a better project. Manager, CEO, we call them board meetings when we meet with these guides and say, okay, here's where we are with this now. We can't see it. We're in it. You can't see what you're doing, and when you're writing. I need some feedback from you guys. And they come right through. Boom.
What I'm hearing you say are like 3 very key things is trusting, asking, and being still and quiet to hear.
That's right. That's right.
Like those are super important, like the key things that are really going to get you. It's like if you don't take that breath and really quiet yourself, you're not going to hear.
You're gonna be blocking
Yeah.
their influence. They can't reach you when you are in fear or anything to do with fear. Fear, a subcategory of fear would be doubt, would be worry. Any of those things fall under the category, the heading would be fear. So they can't reach you because you block yourself and you start breathing in a shallow way. You can't be reached. That's what it is. In Guided, the closing message to the people who read Guided is, we speak for our infinite legions. You are never alone. Just as we saved an unwanted, unloved, and abused little girl, we bring hope and help to each who asks for our guidance. Our dedication to you is how we fulfill our soul's journey. We believe in you so strongly that one of us materialized in front of Linda so you could believe. By asking for our help, your life will change in an instant. We are here. You must ask. Walk with us. That's how Guided, that's the closing
That's
message
beautiful.
in Guided
Yeah.
that we channeled using the Ask the Universal channel. That came through.
And talk about that
the picture,
photo.
yeah.
It's been sitting here on set this whole episode. I want to make sure people
And on
realize.
all of her books.
And they're on every single thing you've got.
Yeah, I would say that there are probably our brand is the Guide because it's so unique. In 1994, I was visiting my daughter at Christmas time, and I had it was film days. I had a Nikon camera, so I'm taking pictures of the kids and everybody, and running around. And I turn around, and there's the TV. The TV's pointing that way, and I turn around, looking out the window. There was a drape closed, and the Guide showed up. 7 foot tall in the room, materialized, so I could take their photograph. Because they of course they set everything up, right? I had the camera in my hand and it was really bright in the room. I took the photograph and I looked at everybody else and I said, "Did you just see that?" Of course they didn't see that.
Not.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Well, maybe I got their photograph. Maybe I didn't. I mean, it sure did seem like it happened, all right." And I got the film developed a couple weeks after I got home. And when I had the film developed, there it was. And they came to me in a dream a couple weeks after that, and they said, "We appeared so the world could believe, because you're going to write a book about your relationship with us since you were a little girl, and that's why we appeared, so the world could believe." And I wrote the book 20 years later.
20 years,
Yep. Because I wasn't ready, David. I didn't even know. And here's the interesting part of this. I sat down one day in August of 2012. I sat down at my computer and I just started writing out of the blue sky. I had no idea I would do this or ever do this. And I just started writing the story of my life. By the time I got to chapter 9, I went, "Oh my God, this is the book.
You're writing the book.
This is it. This is the
Yeah.
book they told me I would write 20 years ago." Or at that point, 18 years ago, because it was 2 more years before the book was published. But it only took me 4.5 months to write it.
Beautiful.
I never wrote a book before. I mean, it just, when it's time, when guidance comes through, it's brilliant. It's genius, all right? You sit down, and was it convenient at the time? No, it wasn't convenient, but I did it. I'm used to walking that way.
Yeah. As we get near the end, I would like to ask if you and Ray would demonstrate the universal channel board that you have and give an opportunity for that.
That was one of the...
And it starts out with the first word in that. It's called ask.
Yeah.
Ask the universal channel.
Yeah.
And the universal channel is everything you can imagine it is. Your
Yeah.
guides, your angels, people who have crossed over will come through to talk to you, or intelligence from beyond this plane will come through and speak to you, all right? And the specialist will come through. So if you have a specific thing you need an answer around something that's been something you need to know. You're creating a project. You invented something. You need to bring the specialists in. They bring them in, and boom, you get the information. When you perfect this, all right? Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of history on how you came up with that.
It's the only thing they ever asked me to do, okay? In my whole life with them, the only thing they ever asked me to do for them was to create a new talking board, which became Ask the Universal Channel. They said that they needed it because they needed to reach humanity on a higher level. They needed a talking board that did not cause fear and caution.
Fear and caution.
Fear and caution.
And there you go again.
Yeah.
Okay, it's guided part 1, fear. My guided journey, part 2, chapter 1, fear. It's all fear.
Yeah.
Fear is how you have been controlled
Yeah.
your whole life, all right? And until you get off the great big giant pile, steaming pile of fear, okay? It's really true. One thing they told me in Guided, this is a very sad statement, and they told me this in chapter 1, the merry-go-round dream. They said, the most tragic of your times is that most people will die having lived fear-based lives.
Yeah.
Now that is why I came here. I came here to get people to snap out of this fear. And if you could keep one thing in your mind, one, to chase that fear off, and because it's an illusion and it's a big lie, remember that this life is not all there is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
This is not all there is, you guys. This physical form is an illusion. Here's the best way to summarize that. When you leave, what's real from the illusion in this world? The only thing that's real is what you take with you when you are released from this world.
That's so
That's good.
So what is
Yeah.
that? Tell me what that is in your world. Tell me what that would be.
That would be all of the things that I learned
Yes.
and experienced in this lifetime.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And the other part to that, as a result of that, and you became more than you were before you got here.
Yes.
As a result of it. Here's a little,
That would be the hope anyway.
here's a visual. There's a clam, and the clam, everything's perfect in this world of this clam. It's all clammed up and everything's good until a piece of sand gets lodged into the side of the clam. And at that point, the clam goes, ugh, and it starts pushing on it because it's annoying and it's aggravating and it's just shouldn't be there. It's foreign and it doesn't feel good karma. And you know, lessons you have to learn and consequences, and it keeps pushing on it, right? And it gives you that really bad feeling. You keep pushing on it. It almost becomes a habit where you just keep on, and you can't stop yourself from doing it. And it keeps pushing until one day, what happens?
Becomes a pearl.
Persistence.
Yeah.
Persistence. You keep on your path. Keep working it out. Don't take it personally. That's one of the keys that I learned. Don't take it and see this life for exactly how it is. Don't make up stuff. Don't say, "Oh, but it's family," after they've abused you your whole life. No, your karma's done with them. You learned what you needed to learn. You became more from it. Okay, it's okay to move on from that now. You're okay. You're going to be okay. I love it.
Beautiful.
Love it.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
Well, if that
So-
works for you,
That's it.
We'll bring Ray on.
Bring
and
Ray on. He is.
maybe there's a message for 2019 that you could offer the viewers, or
Let the guides answer.
let the guys.
Yes.
They'll come
answer.
through on the talking board.
Good.
Sounds perfect.
Well, let's do
All
a
right.
real quick
I'll do that.
reconstruction. All right, so we have Ray on camera with us, and what Linda and Ray do is they work together to use the Ask the Universal Channel board and go ahead and give presence to the material that you have before us and kind of how this functions.
Ray, you go ahead.
Well, when I first met Linda 15 years ago, she had this website. She told me she had a website, and she helps people connect with their spirit guides. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And wanted to learn more about it. So as we started dating, I asked her about the board. She had the board, which she'd already had for
Since 1988.
15 years.
Well, it's 1989.
Right. And I thought it was fascinating, but for me, it was very difficult. It was just, it was hard to learn, but she was very patient with me. And at first, she taught me how to relax and just let it go and try not to control it and don't think of things that, that you want to hear. And that's really how you end up knowing that it's coming through you instead of out of you. But it was slow at first. I get one letter, then I get another letter, and then another letter, and then that would spell a word. And it was a long time before I got complete words and then sentences. And then where we're at now, I feel a download. Even before we start moving, I feel a download of information coming through, and we can barely keep up with it.
Right.
Wow.
And she hears the same thing I do.
But only one person speaks out their messages, because you'd be competing to speak it out. It would be confusing. So what they did when Ray and I were first together, of all things, and he was just learning this, because I had always announced the messages. I had always either written them down when we were doing them. I was always the multitasker, right?
Yeah.
And they assigned Ray to the job of speaking out the messages. And they said his messages will be heard throughout the world. So this is still in its infancy. Go ahead, Ray.
And I got better at it. I practiced a lot, but 15 minutes a day when we did it together, that was pretty much, it's very tiring at first.
It was
It
for
takes
you
a lot of energy.
in the beginning. Yeah.
But you can feel when you start to do it, you can feel the energy comes down from the universe, comes right down between your shoulder blades, and you get very warm as you're learning.
And is that for everybody?
Yeah.
Or is that just your experience?
It could be for everybody. Some people
Okay.
have said they feel cold. Everybody has a different feeling. All right.
She starts sweating when the information comes through
I do.
real fast.
Yeah, when it really starts cooking, even before it starts, like when we're on set, when we're doing our live events, I have all the fans on, because as soon as it starts, even before, when I do a coaching session, even before we even start using the talking board where they're talking to their guides in the opening message, I can feel it coming through, and they start talking through me, and it just starts firing off, and I just go, oh, wait a minute, we're not live. I don't have the recorders going. I don't have, this and that going. So hold up. Wait a minute. We need to catch up to you guides. All right. And they come through so fast.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you'll catch yourself as you learn to do this. Okay. We call this the training wheels in learning to do this, learning to channel your guides. But what'll happen, like Ray's talking about, all of a sudden you just boom, get the download. You're in the shower. You get the guidance. You're driving somewhere. All of a sudden something comes through. It's a great idea. You'd like to think it came from you,
Yeah.
but it came through you.
Yeah, that's really
That's
good.
good.
Yeah.
And that's what he was saying earlier about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's they infiltrate your life. This is like they know you're open and you're working toward that. And add the journal where you write down what you're getting, put it in your journal, write all that stuff down. But here's the key. Ray and I were together, then we got married the beginning of the following year. And then it was about 4 years later, things started getting intense in our life. And the guidance was coming through, and it was showtime. It was time to take action. And Ray
choked up.
Now, if you get the guidance, just like I explained in the journal, you write down what it is, you talk about how it felt, what you realized,
Okay.
and the last one, number 6, is what action did you take?
That's good.
And this will be the same thing. You'll start getting information, and you'll go, well, you'll question, is it guidance? Did it come from me, or did it come through me? through me, guidance. Which one, am I in my way? Can I believe this? That's why you've got to start writing it all down.
Yeah.
So you can, when you don't act on the guidance and then you see a missed opportunity from 2 months ago, you go, oh, okay, that was guidance. I remember how that felt. Yeah. And you start connecting with this.
Okay.
Then you can start what? Trusting yourself.
Trusting it.
Yeah.
Trusting yourself. You're not trusting them. You check in here and you go, can I trust myself? Does this feel right? You always run it through your trust center. But how do you do that? You got to know who you are first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See how it always comes back to that.
It's
All right.
really
That's
good.
good.
In my case, even we were getting the information, but we get to that, how does that make you feel part? And what hit me first is, I think this is good information, but I don't think we should do it now.
You mean take action now?
Postpone it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell them how that one works, right?
Yeah, you find out that it has a shelf life. They'll come back and they'll tell you again, you should do this. Okay, you told us that before, we should do that, but I don't think it's the right time to do that yet. And by the third time, and the pain gets enough, you decide, maybe we should have done it the first time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good.
And then when Ray finally took that step forward, that magical step forward where he took action on the guidance at a critical time in our life, when he actually, let's do this, okay, and he did that, he's never choked up since.
Right.
So there's that point where you just get over the suffering, the needless struggle that you put yourself through.
Yeah.
Of thinking that maybe you have a better plan.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really good.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Give
Okay.
presence to your website. Give presence to how people can contact you, and then we'll work through this.
Okay, first of all, lindadeir.com is where you can find my books. You can also find on that website, you can sign up for Linda's Weekly Guided Insights. And that's channeled information from my spirit guide angels on navigating the uncertain world that you're now living in. Yeah. And the world we're living in is certainly uncertain. Okay, so they walk you through that. In fact, I want to announce this one thing. Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, starting January 15th. They started a new segment. We don't call it. The guides come through and say, oh, by the way, we're going to be making a little change here. We need to up the game, and we need to move into this. And this is what it's going to be about. They tell us what it is. Oh, surprise, surprise. And we just know to go that way. We don't resist it. And their timing is perfect. Okay, so now they're moving us into a segment called Spiritual Meanings. Spiritual meanings about the world that you are now living in, about what's really going on in the world that you're living in. So you see, here's the world, and here's all the chatter in the world, in this world where we live, in this physical world, about what's happening, okay, with all the fear and all the stuff slapped on it. Then over here is the spiritual meaning. It's looking under the hood. It's seeing what it's really conveying, what this is telling humanity, okay, and how you need to make course corrections and adjustments in your own life right now, so that navigating you through the uncertain times that you're now living in, so that you don't veer off and find yourself, in a bad spot. Okay, you don't need, again, I'm going to go back to that. You do not need to struggle. If you follow your guidance and you get used to stepping into it, it takes a little time. That's why the journal is important. But you learn how to step into it. You get out of the way. You learn how to do this. Then you've got this thing. You will no longer be floundering. But the spiritual meanings are going to start the middle of January, and they're done every Tuesday. And there'll be a new spiritual meaning coming for the next week. Evidently, here's what I'm getting from the guides, is the reason they're implementing this now is because things are heating up. And people need to be forewarned, and they need to know how to handle it. And again, throughout my life, they always taught me, they didn't teach me anything. They always presented me with the things, and this is how I learned about myself and what I needed to do. Not take it personally, and you can face what's happening in this world without dressing it up, without making stuff up, without pretending it's different than it is, because you can't handle the truth. Okay, this is where you get the truth. Straight just the way it is. And in these spiritual meanings, they give you the truth. They show you what the news is. They tell you the spiritual meaning. They show you what happens when you act on it. They show you what happens when you don't. They take you through this whole sequence. It's brilliant. And they came up with the whole thing in the last 2 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Done.
Nice.
Okay. So
I look forward to seeing that.
that's what you want to be signed up for Linda's weekly guided insights going forward, because this will be important. All right.
And each Tuesday, when the weekly guided insight comes out Tuesday morning, Linda is live that night on Facebook on her author page, Linda Deir Author,
Right.
and discussing that weekly,
that
weekly
insight
insight for the
with you that night, where you can ask questions you
Right.
have. And this is free. I don't charge for this. This is called support behind Linda's weekly guided insights, so nobody's floundering and wondering what to do. All right. Okay, so we're going to sample what happens when Ray and I, by the way, Ray and I are the world's foremost authorities and teachers on the correct use of the talking board.
Indeed.
This is its 30-year anniversary this year.
Cool.
Yeah. And so it's been a work in progress. What the guides will talk about, let's just see what they feel that the viewers of your program, what the guides feel they need to know right now. And here they go.
Beautiful.
Always take that breath when you want to bring your guides through.
Greetings. We speak for our infinite legions. This awakening you so desperately seek is not an event. It won't be like a switch being flipped one day and you awaken. It is not an event at all. It is a process, a gradual process of learning, and a lifestyle that goes along with that learning and complements it. It's in making the connection to us that you will begin to see how this awakening process develops. Some will achieve it faster than others, while some may not get it until right before they cross over from this life. It's important not to be in a hurry or get discouraged, as you have been given all the time you will need to awaken, should you choose this path.
Wow.
So here's what I'm getting from this. I always explain what they just said. So what they're saying is, by the fact that you implement this in your day-to-day life, you're not looking for it to be some goal, something that you finish. All right. It's just something that you learn to implement in your day-to-day life as you move through it. The journaling. There's the journaling again, where you write down what you're getting, what's coming through, what's awakening you. All right. And it's a process. It's a journey, my guided journey, right?
Yeah.
It's a journey. And you have to be, it's just something that once you become comfortable with that, you become one with that process. That's if there was a shortcut to get where you're going, to find that which you seek. That's the fastest way to get there. I call it the shortcut.
Mm-hmm.
It's because it's so deep and it's so solid and it's so true. Okay? It's the truth. Okay? So just every day. It's an everyday thing
Yeah.
that gets you there. Now for them to talk the other part to this, well, hi, honey. The other part they were talking about was the awakening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, we are in the year of the awakening.
Mm-hmm.
It started in 2012.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah.
Oh.
So we've been moving
Moving.
that way. All right.
Yeah.
You can really take a look back at your life, David.
Oh yeah.
You know,
No, I acknowledge that.
I want to say one thing
Yeah.
to you. 44. How old are you now?
I'm 49. I'm 45 when I was starting to work.
When you
out.
started to
From
move
45
into
to 49.
this. Okay, so we're talking about 5 years. 2012.
4 years. From 44 to 45 to 49. Yeah.
4 years ago. So we're 2018 right now.
19.
19.
I mean,
Yeah. So it was the
But
beginning of
18.
2015 to
6
now.
years. 6 years. So 2 years
Yeah.
later, after this started, the
Yes.
light went off for you.
That's
Yeah.
where it was. Yeah.
That's just interesting.
Yeah. No, we've acknowledged that whole 2012
Yeah.
Mayan calendar, the thing. And was it the end of the world? No, it was the end of the old age. And now the new has become awakening.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was there by the time you stepped into
Yeah,
it.
we were just part of the popcorn, and there's
Right.
many, many people that are waking up.
And I would say the process probably started around then. The discontent, the
Right.
unsettlement,
Yeah,
the
something that
something
moving.
isn't.
the old belief system didn't, something that
Yeah.
doesn't work with it anymore.
Gnawing
yeah.
at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Linda always says that the people want to learn how to do this for themselves. You know, they want to learn how to make this connection to their guides. Well, the question is why? Why all of a sudden, when you're 40, 50, 60 years old, do you feel this void? Linda calls it the hole in your soul. The hole in your soul is an urge for you to figure out who you are and why are you here. That's the big why question.
It is.
You know, the guides are always telling us, don't ask how, don't ask what, always ask why questions, because that's how you communicate with a child.
That's the child. That produces really what you're looking for. Okay? If you think about the why, it's powerful. The why is so powerful.
And kids always ask why.
Until their parents go crazy. Why? So you come in kind of loaded with this why thing.
Oh, yeah.
There's no accident you came in like
Oh, yeah.
that. You weren't flawed. You were irritating,
Yeah.
but you weren't flawed.
Yeah.
One other thing I want to say about this, we have a group on Facebook. It's a private group, so you can't get in without, what do you call it, Ray?
Paying the cover charge, you have to have a board.
That's
You have
right.
to have one of these talking
And
boards.
these boards are cheap. I mean, they're
Yeah.
$34 or something
Well,
like
Well,
that.
this is the manufactured version.
This is the official version.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's 34, so it's the most expensive. But the other two versions, we have a printable version of this that's the same size and scale as
Color,
this,
same, looks exactly like if you had them next to each other, you couldn't tell the difference.
and an online version, and they're both $9.95 each.
Yeah.
So this is a it just makes sure that when people come in that they're sincere.
Yeah.
All right. But the group is powerful. The group has come a long way in like the
Last year.
Yeah, the last year.
That's good.
And they're working together on Wednesdays. Independent of us. We meet with them every other Thursday. Well, they meet every Wednesday, and they get together and they work with this, and they base everything on, like what Ray was saying,
The why questions.
why question.
The why question.
And they have progressed so fast.
You guys would want to take a look at least at the last 3 videos that they've done.
Yeah, I started from the beginning. So maybe I'll back up to the last 3 videos.
Right.
And for people who want to learn, you can learn with the speller, the Plachette. But the board is designed, it's 8.5 inches in diameter. The board's designed if you want to use it by yourself.
Optimized.
If you don't have a partner, it's optimized for a pendulum.
Right.
And the digital version, especially when it's on your phone, you can use it on your phone, on a tablet, on your computer.
Everything.
If it's on your computer, the mouse becomes speller. And it's a little different feeling because now you're in two different planes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now this is in one plane. A pendulum is in one plane, or if you have the digital version on your phone, it's about this big, and then you need a pendulum with a point. So you
Yeah.
can see exactly what letters or what numbers it's moving to. But you always have it with you on your
Yeah,
phone.
Yeah.
that's good. You guys, thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you for providing resources through the material you've written, through the board, through the resources you have online. And I want to encourage you guys, check out lindadeir.com, check out all the wonderful things that Linda and Ray are doing. And thank you for being a part of Universal Consciousness continuing to move
That's
forward.
what it's all about.
Thank you for
Make that
having us.
connection to your guides
You're never alone.
and always